Welcome to the Cathedral of Shadows, where demons gather.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Cathedral of Shadows Megami Tensei podcast. I am Rasen,
I'm Katsu.
and we are back, just us today. We haven't had an episode where it's just the two of us since early December.
Yeah, it's been a while.
We've had so much crossover in and guests
Yes.
and special stuff like that, but this is the bread and butter experience of Cathedral of Shadows. So we decided that we haven't really done a episode where we just talk about just something MegaTen related that's not about anything new or anything that's going on within the fan base. Just a what if scenario. But before
Yeah.
we get into the what if scenario,
What if? Get it? If?
oh
Yuck, yuck, yuck,
oh,
yuck,
good
yuck, yuck.
segue because we're gonna be talking about SMT If.
Yes.
So a few weeks ago, Orden from DDSNet. You might actually recognize that name because he is the guy who cleaned up Aeon Genesis's translation of SMT1. And that's actually a really good patch. If you want to play SMT1, make sure you're using Orden's version because it makes the translation match up with Atlas's official stuff, and it's pretty awesome. But he took it upon himself to make a basic menu translation hack for SMT If. So it's not a full translation. So the dialogue, if I recall correctly, what happens in battle, I don't think. I haven't played it much myself yet, unfortunately, but I think battle text is untranslated, but all of the menu options, all of the items and spell names. So basically everything you can select menu-wise is translated. So it's the closest thing we have so far to an
A
actual.
complete, yeah, an actual SMT if experience.
Yep. If you want to play SMT If and you don't speak Japanese, you're still going to need to find like a translation document or a let's play of some sort or something to get you through the game. But this is definitely a lot more convenient than having none of the game translated.
Yeah. Till that day someone decides to go, you know what? I'm translating this game. This is the best you got.
Yep. So, another translation thing, actually. I don't think anyone saw this coming. Before Soul Hackers even. I think this was even before Soul Hackers had a 3DS port announced. A guy crap, I can't think of his name right now. I feel bad. But the same person that translated, or the same team, I should say, that translated Persona 2 Innocent Sin, said that the next project was going to be Soul Hackers. But then the 3DS version got announced, and they said, "Oh, we're still going to work on the PlayStation translation of it." And then we heard nothing for a really long time, and then their site went offline and was lost. Until recently, though, he came on the romhacking.net forums and said that the project isn't dead. It's just postponed.
Yay.
So that's pretty cool. See all the differences between I almost said the Persona version, between the PlayStation version and the 3DS version of Soul Hackers. So stay tuned for that. It seems like he's not actively working on it right now, but he will later on. So whenever there's more news about that, we'll update you.
Yes.
Now, now we're done with stuff translation wise, but the SMT4 OST is coming out soon,
Yes, next month, the 26th.
and that's pretty awesome because that way we're not going to have to rely on game rips, which are fairly low quality.
Fairly
Most,
low quality most of the time, 99% of the time. Okay, all the time. But yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Um, So we'll finally get some high quality version of the songs and nice clean flax.
yep.
Um, there, I took a look at the OST. There's quite a lot of songs on there, so I think we're getting the full package and not just like select songs and then we have to like dig through the game to get the rest of them.
That'll be awesome.
Yes.
So there's no news on an English release. They don't. Atlas never really, I don't think, releases their
Yeah, they never
soundtracks
really.
in English. So
Because they know we'll just download them off, like,
yeah,
FF Shrine and all that.
I know I will.
I
So
know I will.
so stay tuned for
No shame.
uh, I don't know if we have an actual date. That's it's like a few months from now, isn't it?
What, the SMT 4OC?
Yeah, when's the actual release date? I can't remember the.
It's February 26th.
Oh, okay. Yep. So that's next month. So
Yeah.
moving on, we also got two more Persona Q trailers. Yay.
Yes. Akihiko and Chie.
Yeah, the two characters with the best battle quotes. Aha, is this our chance? And I've been waiting for this.
Yes. They better be in the game or I'm gonna be upset.
What if they had like a thing where if they're both in your party, they both like form into one person and then they say like, "Aha, is this the time to wait for
We've been
this?"
That would be insane.
Just like some weird fusion of that quote. Or I've been
Uh,
waiting for this chance. There we go.
haha.
Oh man, but not much more info we got from that. And by not much, I mean pretty much nothing except giant Mitsuru holding Akihiko and Shinji.
Yeah.
People are still wondering what that is, and I
Yeah.
think I think it's just a comedy
Yeah.
gag thing.
People are reading too into it to try to find some kind of conspiracy. I know this guy who's been like trying to find some conspiracy in Persona 4 Arena that links it to Persona 2 to the point where like you know how the Persona 4 Arena art book it has like red on it,
Yeah,
just
on the
like red
cover.
colors. Yeah, he almost like linked that to like red. Persona 2 uses predominantly red.
As you
It
can
was
see, this person bleeds during this part of Persona 4 Arena. Blood is red. That means that Persona 2. No.
Yes, exactly. It got to the point where it's just like really annoying. I'm like, seriously, it's not that serious. It's not that serious.
No, so along with the character trailers, I guess, is we see a little bit more of the battle system, which looks interesting. So how it looks the battles work is it looks like when you're selecting your commands, it's in first person Etrian Odyssey style, and then when the battle animations play, it pans back to go third person for the animations. So that looks really cool.
Yeah, it looks pretty nice. I like that.
I like it. I like it a lot. I think I don't know if this is going to be the case, but it seems like we're going to get Persona 4 and Persona 3 side by side character trailer weekly, possibly, because we got one last week and we got one this week. So I wonder if they're gonna go weekly.
Yeah, probably gonna get like Shinji and Kanji next week.
I would laugh if that was like the actual two.
I was like, hey, the plays.
There you go. So stay tuned for more of that. But the character trailers don't really seem to be revealing much, honestly. Like maybe it's because I don't know Japanese, but it seems honestly like it's just a little bits and pieces of the story that seem to be kind of generic, and then they have battle stuff with the character.
Yeah,
It doesn't look like anything big, really, that's being revealed.
probably gonna wait until all the character trailers are done, and then there's just gonna be like, hey, one big PV that just completely changes the tide and nature of this game,
Well,
and
the second PV revealed a lot. Like that's
yeah,
how we know how it fit in the like continuity stuff and all that,
yeah,
and how it worked, or I guess the basic premise almost. But yeah, these character things are little. I don't want to say disappointing because like they're making me hyped for the game. It's just that they're not giving us much.
yeah, they're lackluster.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good word for it. So that's happening. Stay
Well,
tuned for more Persona Q trailers. But I guess we can jump into our topic now.
our topic of the day.
Is what would happen if MegaTen died? Dun dun dun.
Or what would lead up to the death of MegaTen.
Yes, if MegaTen went the way of the dodo, what would cause it, or what type of doomsday scenario would lead up to it? So, I think it's no secret that this gen, a lot of gaming series,
Die
franchises, companies, yeah, died. um,
or bite in the dust.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should talk about this a little bit. So, the big one is Capcom. They've suffered a lot this gen. Um,
Yes, so many franchises, so many losses.
like Resident Evil, Mega Man, Street Fighter Cross Tekken.
Devil May Cry.
Yeah, a lot of Capcom stuff just not doing so great. Lost Planet seems to not be doing so well, but that was kind of a failure at launch, I think, since the first
Yeah,
game. Uh,
and they're still pushing Lost Planet. I don't think I've ever met anyone that liked the game.
Neither have
Nope.
I.
Yeah, not really. It's just
I like a lot of their stuff is a lot of their series are pretty much dead or they're in a very low point, such as, of course, Resident Evil is the big example with 6 just killing the franchise almost. A lot of people have left Capcom, like the Mega
yep.
Man guy, Inafune.
Keiji Inafune, Kamiya.
Yeah,
Uh,
Kamiya. Yeah, a lot of them are making their own companies, like the Mighty Number Nine company, which I don't even know the. It's I think it's Concept or something like
yeah, it's
that.
Concept.
Yeah, and then Platinum Games was basically just Clover Studio from Capcom making their own thing.
Yeah, it's like Clover Studio and Kamiya. They just got together and made Platinum Games.
Yeah, yeah, and it shows like I talked about this in our crossover with SMT Network, but I've been playing God Hand, and
Yeah,
it's so hard to play Metal Gear Rising or Mad World and not see references to that game. Like, there's a lot of like little tiny references. I think it's funny.
yeah.
So, they're definitely doing their own thing now. And actually, Resident Evil, we have is it Mikami? I think his name is.
Yeah, I think
Res-
so.
yeah, the Resident Evil guy. He made his own company, and they're doing The Evil Within, which looks like the Resident Evil game we never got. Looks like a lot of fun.
We never got in years.
Yeah, that looks awesome. So definitely Capcom has been hurting, and I guess the reasoning for it is they seem to not so much as be designing games to be fun. They're designing games so that they are profitable
Yeah,
over
profitable and
fun.
appeasing their shareholders.
Yeah, they're not thinking of the player. They're thinking of the market, if you will.
Yeah,
There a lot of their games are really big budget. They don't take many risks at all, and they
and
try
they appeal to like the largest market.
yeah, the lowest common denominator,
Yeah,
such as Resident Evil 6 coming out, and then the developer saying, "Yeah, we're definitely following Call of Duty design philosophy with this," and it shows because the game is the most generic shooter thing ever. Um, then you have actually, I think someone at Capcom recently said that Resident Evil 7 needs to be better than 6, obviously, and we're looking at The Last of Us closely. And
uh-oh.
as soon as I read that, I'm like, no,
Uh-oh,
look at your
no.
look at your previous games. Don't look at anything else. Just
Yeah, exactly.
shut out all of your outside sources and just look at what made the other games good. Like, just make Resident Evil 4, but better.
Yeah, see what works, see what doesn't, and yeah, build from that.
I mean, I feel kind of bad because Resident Evil 4 kind of seems
Yeah.
like the peak of Capcom. Everyone who's played that
Like
game
around
of
yeah,
that.
around the time of Resident Evil 4, Capcom was like at the peak of power.
Oh man, there's a from the Two Best Friends Play guys. They have their own podcast. I thought it
Yeah.
was funny because they're talking about how Devil May Cry was originally supposed to be Resident Evil 4, and Haunting Ground, which is another survival horror game they made, was originally supposed to be Resident Evil 4. Resident Evil 4 was such a good game that even its failures made great games.
Yeah.
Like the game created other awesome games just because it was made. It's that awesome. But yeah, that success did not follow them into this gen, sadly enough.
Yeah, like a lot of the creators of the franchises left because they weren't being treated right by the higher ups.
And
Like
yeah, I
I
think
heard,
that was a big part of it.
I read articles that there was like bullying going on within Capcom's studios too. Is like really crazy stuff that you wouldn't expect from
Yeah,
a company like that.
it seems like they weren't being the creators weren't being treated with enough respect. Shoot, I think we should move on from Capcom to the other big company that this has been an issue with, Square Enix.
Yeah,
And the
it's like it's not because you know what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about Final Fantasy and
oh, of
how
course,
Final Fantasy has been doing. It's not so much the entire series itself is doing bad. It's just
the main
the one particular game that just brought the Final Fantasy franchise to its knees,
and the
and that
spin-offs didn't help either.
yeah, and that is Final Fantasy 13.
Yeah. So that was definitely the turning point for Square Enix. Um, I think the problem with that game is that the development seemed to have been pretty rocky ever since the beginning, where Final Fantasy 13 was originally supposed to be for the PS2, and it looks like they scrapped everything they had made for the PS2 game in order to accommodate for next gen. And then it seems like they had to rework their plans again when the 360 version got announced, because there's a lot of people that claim that there's evidence that the reason 13 was so linear was because they didn't know how to work with the 360's technical limitations, which I don't know
Yeah, this is
how.
like the beginning of like the previous gen's life cycle was like a lot of the coding for like the PS3 and the 360 it was all in English and none of it was translated into Japanese or any other language. That was pretty much a big reason why the Japanese gaming market suffered so much in the beginning because they couldn't understand the code and how to program for it. So they just relegated themselves to either continuing making PS2 games or going to the PSP and DS.
Which is pretty funny because it seemed like a lot of companies. This really shows through control schemes, if anything. It seems like a lot of companies didn't. They each had their own like design philosophy, and it feels like with this gen, it became a lot more unified how things work. I mean, count the number of. I don't know how many shooters you play, but like count the amount of shooters or like just games with guns in them that you played for the PS2, and then think about all the different buttons that different companies would use for shoot. Sometimes it'd be
Yeah,
square, sometimes it would be circle. A lot of times it would be R1 or L1, and like and now with this gen, everything's pretty unified in terms of like shooter control schemes. I mean, even with action games, Devil May Cry 1 had you use triangle for jump. Like that's unheard of now, you
yeah.
know? Just stuff like that. And I think
Uh,
that kind of shows with all these different design philosophies and stuff with like Square Enix and other Japanese games is they didn't really know how they should adapt to the this gen or I guess last gen now. Wow, that's so weird to think about, but
yeah.
I think that was a major problem.
It was a major problem that continued for a while. The only people that were really developing, the only Japanese companies that made successful games for like the PS3 and the 360 were Namco with the Tales games, Nipponichi with Disgaea, and
And even then, wasn't the first PS3 one kind of isn't that seen as like the worst in the series?
yeah, Disgaea 3 was considered the worst of the series.
So even then there was some
Even
trouble.
like yeah, even like the main problem with Disgaea 3 was just like the graphics were really dated. They
Oh,
weren't using like the HD sprites of Disgaea 4. They were using like PS2 sprites, but cleaned up a smidgen.
yeah. So that was definitely something that led to a rocky start for a lot of companies. But then Square Enix continued it with like a lot of most companies got over it,
Yeah,
continue making games fine. A lot of them, well, okay, a few of them didn't. Square Enix being a big one, and I think the main issue there is once again their development costs were so high that they couldn't take risks with the game,
yeah,
and also a lot of poor quality control. A
yeah.
lot
And
of poor
also,
quality control.
if you look at the staff for Final Fantasy 13, you notice that not many of them really worked on a Final Fantasy game before.
Which you know
Which
that
it shows really hard.
well, yeah, Final Fantasy 13 doesn't feel like a Final Fantasy. It feels kind of like Star Wars
Yeah.
mixed mixed with like other magical crystal weirdness. And I guess you could say Final Fantasy 2 is very similar to Star Wars, and they take a lot from Star Wars and other games. But I mean, the sci-fi setting, like that setting is pretty hard sci-fi with magic thrown in.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, it just doesn't feel like one.
Felt like a really big departure.
Yeah, and that definitely threw people for a loop. I guess too is just how it felt and the mythos, and the plot was just pretty weak for a Final Fantasy, which is not great.
Characters were pretty weak like the main cast was pretty weak for a Final Fantasy 2, Final Fantasy game as well.
You killed my mom.
Yeah, and like
I need to rescue Sarah.
I need to rescue Sarah.
Where's the trigger?
Troy Baker, we love you. But anyway, I think like the only character of the main cast of Final Fantasy 13 that I really like was Saz. He was cool.
Because
Sa-
Chocobo.
Saz was the only character that a lot of people liked in the Final Fantasy 13. But that's just beside the point.
I guess actually, this is something I want to bring up quick, is Square Enix also has gotten a lot of shit for this, especially actually recently. And by recently, I mean a few days ago, this came up again. They've been focusing a lot on Final Fantasy on mobile, and I think you saw the screens you said where Final Fantasy VI on iPhone and Android looks really terrible.
Yeah, it looks like garbage.
Yeah, they've gotten a lot of shit for that too. Is a lot of the time and effort for Final Fantasy in particular is being spent on mobile devices, um, such as Final Fantasy 1 through 6 and the after years being put on mobile devices recently instead of making another Final Fantasy game. Then you have Final Fantasy Dimensions, which I've actually heard is quite good, and people were pissed off because that was a mobile game. It seems
And
like
then there's like Final Fantasy Type Zero as well, which is pretty freaking amazing. It's one of the best games I've ever played, and it was on PSP, but we have no English release, and that's really sad.
wasn't that originally a Final Fantasy 13 like spin-off thing, like Agito?
It was a spin-off for cell phones, but
Yeah.
they ported it to PSP and rebuilt the game.
See, now that's weird because yeah, it started on cell phones. It seems like they know they have this weird mobile market for their stuff, and then people will continue buying it. Like Chrono Trigger came out on iPhone like a year or two ago. I thought that was really weird. Like how many people would kill for like a PS3 like HD 3D remake for Chrono Trigger? No, just right on the
Here,
phone.
have a phone port. Enjoy.
Um I actually have it was on sale for like $1.99, so I bought it. I have the Final Fantasy 1 remake or port for iPhone on my phone, and it's enjoyable, but Square Enix, it's weird because these games sell a lot, especially on mobile, but Square Enix doesn't seem to be very good with updating their games to work with newer firmware. Like I remember I had to update my phone once and the game would crash pretty much every 5 minutes, and it was terrible. And there was a lot of people complaining about it, and they didn't update it forever, and it was a hassle. So it's really funny because people continue buying these games, but it seems like Square isn't very good at working on the platform.
Yeah, they're more or less like just cheap cash-ins, and like,
But they work,
yeah,
sadly.
they work. I don't even think Square eternally ports these games. They probably just outsource to another company and just like here's the code, have fun with it.
Yeah, that one surprised me. Well, I mean, the majority of them are just ports. Actually, I think the only two that are really like new is the After Years, which they used a new 3D modeling system to make it look like the DS version of Final Fantasy IV, and Dimensions, which was just an original game. So a lot of people have been complaining about that and just the lack of console attention that Final Fantasy has gotten,
Well,
and just
they
it,
are
it hurts the
they
brand
are
overall.
yeah, they are developing Final Fantasy 15 for PS4 and Xbox One, but that's been in development for almost 10 years now.
That was
It was
Versus 13.
originally Yeah, it was originally like a side game for 13 called Versus, but now it's a number game, and it looks like it could be the game to put Final Fantasy back on the map because the staff, like the people who are working on the game, have worked on the more successful titles like Final Fantasy 4, Final Fantasy 6, Final Fantasy 7, 9, 10.
All
Those
the good
guys,
games.
yeah, all the like commercially successful Final Fantasies. Those staff members are working on 15.
Which is a good sign.
So
And I
yeah,
mean, I'm really
it's
hyped for 15. I've been hyped since actually it's funny because I had a 360 for like a good 2 months,
yeah.
and one of the factors for selling it and getting a PS3 instead was because Versus 13 looked really cool, and I was like, "Oh hell, I want this when it comes out," you know? So,
Then hi, next gen.
yeah. I wasn't too mad when that happened, but I mean, I just thought it was kind of
I
ironic.
kind of saw it coming. I was like, you know what?
I
Yeah, they're
thought
probably
that too. That when that happened, I was like, oh, okay, I'm fine with that because I was kind of thinking that I'm like either the project is dead or it's going next gen.
yeah. I
So
mean, like Nomura said he wanted Versus 13 to be something special, and he couldn't really get it the way he couldn't like get Versus the way he wanted it on like last gen. So the decision to move it to next gen was actually made in 2011.
yeah. So luckily, Square has seemed to be getting back on track in terms of Final Fantasy stuff. Like they have a team for quality assurance now that they have.
For some reason, the 13 director is on there, but I can let that slide since like he's probably the mascot or just like the guy they can
No,
like beat up on.
what they do is they show him a project, and then if he says it's good, they immediately scrap it, and if he says it's bad, they run with it.
Yeah,
um, so I guess we wanted to talk about those two companies simply because those are the big two examples. And I mean, usually history repeats or situations like this are similar to one another. So, say Atlas ran into these issues like they well, I guess let's take this point by point. Big budget reducing creativity or reducing risk taken with projects. Atlas, of course, as we all know, they don't have much of a budget going into most projects. Their games are fairly small scale. You could argue that they're like the tier above indie in term of
yeah.
development.
Like
Um,
even their quote unquote big budget games are actually really small in scale. It's just like the amount of content they put in it is makes it it gives it the illusion that it's a huge game.
well, I mean, even their longer games that they seem like they're big budget actually aren't. Look at SMT 4, look at Persona 4, Persona 3. Each of those are about 80 hours long.
Yeah,
Most
and
of
they're
the
actually really small in scale.
in terms of asset use, a lot of them reuse dungeon sets or dungeon types. The sprites and stuff are reused from other games, stuff like that. There's actual very little creation going on. More so, let's scrap something together and then make it look pretty enough to be presentable.
Yeah.
So they're very good at that. Another company that always is good with that too, that Atlas kind of reminds me of, is SNK with all of their King of Fighters stuff and just their Metal Slug games, stuff like that. Because SNK has been on the verge of being bankrupt since like 2005 now. It's ridiculous. But they find a way to make all of their projects profitable. So I think that's something that smaller companies really need to worry
Or really,
about in
yeah.
comparison to bigger companies where they worry so much about making money that they're actually hurting themselves because they take the money. They worry more about what looks good on paper versus reality and what people actually want. Whereas the smaller gaming companies, that is, they need to worry about what will actually sell. Like,
Yeah.
let's cut the crap, cut the market stuff. Just what do our fans want? What is going to be like, you know, the stuff they
Yeah.
want that they will buy. Um, and I think Atlas will remain small budget for quite a while. I mean, Persona, SMT, all that, getting a lot more popular. I think
Yeah,
it's
it's
going to
getting more
be.
popular, but they aren't going to spend too much developing those games.
You're not going to see SMT 5 having the same budget as GTA 5.
Yeah,
Definitely not. Like,
definitely not.
I mean, let's say this was to happen where MegaTen started being crap because they went to big budget and they didn't want to take risks. The only way I could realistically say like see this happening is they make Persona 5 and because all the Persona 3 and 4 fans and the people they drag in buy it, they get a shit ton of money that they weren't necessarily expecting or just more money than they'd
Say
like.
like Persona 5 sells
Ridiculous.
like 2 million the first month, and then it just continues to do well afterwards. Like 2 million in Japan, 2 million in the States kind of thing.
Something, yeah, something like that. Or then what happens then is all of the spin-offs that will probably come from Persona 5 because let's be serious here. And then eventually Persona 6 because usually Atlas releases everything in twos. So like Persona 4 came 3, 4 years after Persona 3. So Persona 6 would probably make them a shit ton of money too. And then they're sitting on all this money, so then they say, well, we better start making
Making
things.
bigger budget games.
Yeah, so then they go into making a bunch of ridiculous looking assets and they make the plot not as controversial as it might be. They make sure that they don't offend anyone or that the game is, I guess, more cookie cutter is the word for it, where they might start going for the thing that Square did with 13, and then they would say something like, "Oh, well, we can't do this because it might cause a scandal, or people might
Yeah.
not like that because we don't have any data about this, so we better stick with the stuff we know." But because of that, the game sucks because of that, and the game doesn't sell. But from Atlas, that's stretching it because they take pride in the stuff they make, and I really doubt that even if they did make a lot of money, like let's be serious, Persona 3 and 4 have made them a shit ton of money. I don't think that they would ever let that go to their heads. I think they'd still be kind of, I guess, frugal in terms of asset stuff.
Yeah.
I just see Atlas continuing to do that just because that's what they know, and they're kind of traditional with stuff like that.
But let's just say they run into a situation like Capcom where major guys just start leaving the company. Like Kaneko leaves, Shoji Meguro leaves, he creates his own little studio, and all this stuff. What would happen to the franchise then?
That's a crapshoot because it depends on who replaces them, you know?
Yeah,
We could get people better. We could get people that just
suck.
suck. We might have a situation where maybe they don't get anyone to replace them. Like,
And the franchise just dies.
I'm not necessarily that, but they don't find other people within the industry. They look inward, and then they say, "Hey, you helped make Nocturne and Digital Devil Saga a few years back. How about you lead the next project just because you were involved?" And then the guy doesn't know what he's doing, something like that, and they just kind of go for the next best fit,
Yeah,
and that's bad because with anything, if you have replacements going on, you don't know how the other guy will measure up.
yeah.
Uh, what else could there be that could lead to the downfall? Actually, I guess this is something that I don't want to say is the most realistic, but I guess in a way it is the fact that a lot of people have been complaining about how
Stagnant SMT has been getting lately.
yeah you actually this is something that's just been a trend in gaming for a while now where people have been complaining about Madden finally. It took 20 so years, but people are finally complaining that all of these Madden games are too similar, or that Call of Duty. Actually, this is the first year, I think we talked about this before. This is the first year Call of Duty hasn't sold as much as they expected to
Yeah,
because people are saying, "Oh, well, I own the last one and it's pretty much the same damn thing."
yeah.
And
Their market is getting smarter, and they don't know what to do.
yeah, because people are starting to realize can I justify paying $60 or $40 for a game that I
Already
effectively already,
have.
yeah, I already played last year. And I mean, SMT, well, it's weird because SMT isn't necessarily annualized. Because like a game within the franchise comes out about every year,
Yeah.
but it's a different spin-off. So it feels fresh enough each time. Because one year we'll get a Devil Survivor, then next year we'll get something like Soul Hackers, and then we'll get SMT4 later. Like it's a different enough experience each time that when the next iteration of the same spin-off rolls around, you feel like playing it again.
Yeah. It's weird like that, but at the same time,
The
people do kind of want something different in their mainline games.
actually, we've talked about this before. A lot of people are starting to get fed up with the whole law versus chaos stuff, just because they're either not doing enough with it, or
They're
it's
not
not
doing it
ambiguous
good.
enough, or they're just plain flat out sick of it.
Yeah.
I'm
Like,
I'm starting to see that a lot more on message boards where people go, I want something more like The Reasons and Nocturne, or I want something a lot more like Devil Survivor.
yeah, they could definitely go the way of Devil Survivor and Nocturne and maybe create more reasons or routes or something like that. Or have like different takes on law, different takes on chaos and neutrality and everything.
I mean, hell, maybe not even necessarily have, I guess, like ideologies behind them, like something like Persona 3, where you just have different opportunities, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's not a good example because Persona 3 is kind of an ideology which decides one of the two endings, but it's definitely a point of contention where people are starting to kind of argue about what Atlas should do about that, because there's only so much you can do with the same concept before you need to
It's
change it up,
yeah. But if they do change it up, they might change it up too much
and then
and
people will complain.
yeah, people will complain even more.
It's a damned if you do, damned if you don't. That's something with SMT4 is SMT4's alignment is weird in my eyes because it's not ambiguous at all, but you still have a lot of dialogue and just ideas that get thrown at you that I like.
Hmm.
Um, I talk about this a little bit where there's a part in SMT4 where a character tells you that, oh, you chose neutral and it's going to be hard and humanity is going to suffer a lot, but it's the right thing in the end. And they give you enough food for thought
Yeah.
that it feels a little bit fresh, but then at the end of the day, you look back and go, that was kind of the same as
All
the
the other
others.
neutral endings.
Yeah, yeah. Like it's so weird because there's a million different ideas for what they could do with that, but it's hard to tell unless they finally do it what the right answer is.
Yeah.
So I think that's the most realistic, but even then, I think we still have at least a good 5 years worth of SMT games before people start getting really sick of it, which might be
Yeah.
that might be a little too forgiving, but it,
We still have like the new spin-offs that come on after SMT4 before like the fifth major game, so
yeah,
there's still time.
definitely. So, oh man, what other doomsday scenarios do you think could happen?
Sega just starts to get greedy.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I mean, this is probably the most scary because it doesn't have anything to do with necessarily the games themselves and what happens in the games. This is more about just getting
The
the games
opinion.
or the stuff about the physical releases of them in general.
Yeah.
Like Sega could easily pull the plug. They've already said they won't do this, but there's nothing stopping them really from saying, "Hey, we're not liking how MegaTen is selling right now in North America, so let's just cut it. Let's pull the plug, Japanese only, and then we're screwed." Which, like I said, they said they won't do, but you never know.
Yeah, like maybe Sega might get into some dire straits and they want to be relevant and constant and they want to be relevant in development again, and they just, go to Atlas like, hey, make something, or like
Oh,
do
that's true.
this,
That's true too.
do this with SMT.
They could say, "Hey Atlas, make this instead of SMT."
Yeah,
And then we just won't get as many games or maybe not any games at all if they want them to work on something else. Or they might say, okay, MegaTen's done for now, it needs a break, or we're not going to talk about it anymore. Make a new IP, or work on
yeah.
this Sonic RPG, something weird, or I guess even work on Phantasy Star, which would be
Fantasy
weird.
Star.
Oh,
Yeah, you may never know. Like PSO2 might just get this SMT expansion where they give out SMT items and costumes and stuff. You may never know.
Phantasy Star is Sega, right? I got that right?
Yeah,
Okay, okay. I doubted myself at last moment, but um, yeah, I mean, Sega, as much as we might not like it, Sega has complete control over Atlas and by extension SMT. And
yeah.
I mean, as it looks right now, they're doing fine, and nothing has changed for us, the consumer. But in the future, that might not be the case. I mean, it's one small step, but SMT4 already kind of took a jab at trying out DLC and stuff like that. And if Sega says, "Hey, let's look at
We like
how,"
what you did with that DLC, and we want you to do it again, but expand upon it.
yeah, they could look at the analytics for that and say, "Oh, look how many people bought this. We should make
Do it
Persona,
again.
yeah, let's make Persona 5 half the game is DLC or something crazy like that." Or, hey, you want to play the answer type mode that Persona 5 could have or something? DLC. Or you want this social
DLC.
link? DLC. Um,
Oh, DLC social links. That'd be awful.
they'd start making up arcanas because they run out, but they want to like scam you enough.
Yeah.
The Atlas Arcana. Yeah, there we go.
The Sanic Arcana.
That'd be awesome. Oh man, I want Sonic to be a Persona. Sega, make it happen. Just
Yeah.
he would have the crap. What's the name of the buff or debuff that changes your evasion rates?
Sukukaja.
Yeah, yeah. He would just have Sukukaja. That would be his only move.
Yeah.
Oh man, that'd be hilarious. So that's a possible scenario. Is Sega just does something stupid, but I think that's probably won't happen, at least in recent times, with how SMT has been selling over in North America.
Yeah.
And I mean, if push comes to shove, I think we always know we're gonna
Persona.
get
We're,
Persona.
we're gonna get Persona games. We're always gonna get Persona games.
Yeah, there is no way in hell they'd have to be stupid to cut off Persona from North America. And I guess I should throw in Europe in there too. Wow, sorry, European listeners, if you think I'm selfish. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, I guess I meant English localizations and stuff in general. But I can't think of any more other quote unquote doomsday scenarios, which I guess in the long run is a good thing.
Yeah.
um, I mean, as it looks right now, Mega 10 is definitely. I don't want to. Okay, this might be pretentious, but it's definitely one of the kings of the RPG genre right now.
Yeah. They have a firm hold over the RPG market in the West, which is like every RPG company in Japan's wet dream is to be successful in the West,
Yeah,
and Atlas has got it with the Megaten franchise.
because they're making money because, like we said before, it doesn't take much necessarily development wise to make each new game, and then they sell really well in Japan, and they're selling well enough here, and it's only getting more popular
Yeah,
because more and more people. I mean, just this sounds weird, but just look at the fan base that is on the internet. We've had forums start pop up. We've had, I guess, the subreddit, as we talked about with Brightside
yeah,
few episodes ago, is getting a lot more popular. I mean, hell, even the show. The fact that we have enough people that listen to this show, like we have a good 300, 400 listeners,
yeah.
that's a
That's
testament.
amazing.
I know, like a lot of RPG companies would probably kill to have just that much internet support. stuff like that. I mean, I don't know too much about it, but I don't really see like Disgaea based boards or podcasts like anything like that. Have you?
I know there's a few Disgaea fan sites. Like the thing about Disgaea is it's Nippon Ichi's only successful IP. That's the only thing that makes them relevant. Whenever like Nippon Ichi releases a new IP or tries something different, it ends up being a failure, and they have to lean back on Disgaea.
Oh,
That's been the trend for like the last 10 years.
but I mean, even Bravely
It's just
Def.
like Disgaea's their.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
go ahead.
Okay, no,
Go ahead.
I was gonna say like even Bravely Default, I think Square has been pretty
What?
supportive so far. It seems of the people that are excited for that game and its North American release. Like they
Yeah.
seem to really be happy that people are excited about it and how it's more up to par with what we usually expected from Square Enix.
Yeah.
Um, I
I don't
guess
know if that's a
that's
good thing or a bad thing, though.
yeah. Only time will tell. So, do you think you're getting Bravely Default, by the way, while we're on that subject?
Yeah, I'm getting Bravely Default.
I don't know yet. I'm half and half. I'm definitely considering it, but
No, I'm not getting it like on release.
oh,
When I
that's what
get
I
like,
meant.
yeah, I'm not getting it on release. So I'll probably get it later when like the price drops or something, since
That's what I'm thinking.
money's pretty tight right now.
That and also I'm just not sure if I trust Square 100% yet. Yeah, I mean, but that's the thing. Just I mean, look at the fan base and like just the fan activity with projects and stuff like that in the recent years. Like the last 2 years for MegaTen on the internet, it's definitely sprung up a lot more in discussion for places. I mean,
Yeah.
even just generic gaming boards, I see it referenced a lot more than I did before, where people would bring up Nocturne and people would be like, "What the hell is that?" Now everyone kind of knows what that is. I mean, they might not play it, they might not have bought it or even seen.
Something.
They recognize the name though,
Yeah.
and that's what's important. So I think we can move on to emails. You feeling emails?
Yes.
Actually, I'm going to take a quick break because I don't know if you can hear it, but my voice is dying.
Okay.
I need a drink.
All
So
right.
I guess it's time to move on to emails. So,
Emails.
woo! And ooh, we actually got an email as we were talking. Ooh,
Wow.
I know this has never actually happened before, I don't think. So that's interesting, but unfortunately, they're at the bottom of the list, so they're going to need to wait. Um, ooh, this is a good email to start on. At least I'm excited about this one. This one is from Antinomy, and he says, "Hey guys, how is it going? Pretty good."
Hi.
This is going to be a long series of questions. Uh, Rasen, you said that Evangelion was one of your favorite animes, so let me ask you, which ending do you prefer? The series ending
Ooh.
or the end of Evangelion ending? Also, what did you think about the rebuild movies? Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Also, that's a little older, but this is a good question. Katsu, I don't know how much Evangelion experience do you have?
I've seen End of Evangelion and the rebuilds.
Oh, so you've never actually watched the series?
No, I've never actually watched the series.
Okay, well, I've seen everything Evangelion animated wise. So that's tough. The first question, because I love the original ending to the TV series because it's a mental train wreck for all the characters involved, and the the thing with Evangelion is it's a mecha show without actually being a mecha show. It's actually about the characters, and it's more of like a psychology show. So the final two episodes of the series is when it just drops the act, and then they get straight into the point, and I love that. But End of Evangelion is also really messed up and awesome, and it's its own type of train wreck where it was made to give a proper ending to the series. So people assumed it wasn't going to be confusing. No, it's just ridiculously confusing. Um, Honestly, it's hard, but I'm gonna say I like End a little bit more, just because it gives more it gives a proper wrap up both physically and mentally for the characters, whereas the TV series focuses on the mental aspect, and you're really not sure what happens in the physical world. I'm sure people that haven't watched Evangelion are wondering what the fuck I'm talking about right now. And to that, I answer, just watch Neon Genesis Evangelion already, because it's amazing. And then I guess the rebuild movies. So I guess, Katsu, you can talk about this. Did you like them?
Yeah, I like the rebuild movies.
Have you seen 3 yet?
I'm waiting for that to get dubbed.
Okay. 3 actually just came out. This is funny. 3 actually came out dubbed in movie theaters recently.
Oh
Over,
wow, really?
yeah, across North America, or yeah, just North America in general. I was going to say North America and Europe, but I think it was just North America. Um, I liked 1. 1 is basically the first 6 or so episodes from the TV series, so but slightly better. So I was like, okay, 1's good. 2 I love. I love 2. 2 has one of the better endings to a movie I've seen. It just feels so satisfying.
Yeah, 2 was great.
And then 3 is actually it's funny because I was I watched 3 recently, and by recently I mean like 2 weeks ago, and I I have mixed feelings about 3. I was gonna review it, but then I decided that I think I might just go back and watch the entire series and rewatch the movies and then review them and like as I finish the rewatch. 3 is weird because I feel like it's getting confusing, but for the sake of being confusing. Characters do things and I'm not really sure why, and the motivation, like with the other Evangelion stuff, it seems like every character does something because they have a reason to, whereas in Rebuild of Evangelion 3, it feels just like, oh, we want you to not be able to understand this because it's going to be deep and crazy, and it feels like they're trying way
Too
too.
deep for me.
Yeah, it feels like they're trying way too hard now. Half the movie you don't understand what's going on, but it feels more like the characters aren't properly communicating. Um, Long story short, Shinji keeps going, "What's going on?" And there are characters that know what's going on, but then they just ignore him. And it's the most frustrating thing to watch because it's like if you people would just sit down and like just talk for 5 minutes, everyone would be on the same page, but they never do, and it's the most frustrating thing ever. So I don't know. I feel like 4 Rebuild of Evangelion 4 is going to make or break 3 retroactively because if the plot devices and stuff they set up in 3 like work out in the end for 4, I think it'll be fine. But until that happens, I'm kind of iffy on 3. So that was a good question. Thank you, Antinomi. I love Evangelion, as you guys can probably see. Um, this one's from Paul. Ooh, Paul's going way back. He says in episode 4, you guys were talking about Atlas might make a new spin-off series after they are done with making Persona 5. If they decided to do a new installment in Megami Tensei since they have not made one since the 1980s, my question is, what would your thoughts be about it, and would you buy it? Ooh, this is going to sound weird, but I don't know if they can because I think Namco still owns the rights.
What, to Megami Tensei?
Yes, because Megami Tensei 1 and 2 were actually uh, Namco. Like, I don't think they were involved with the development, but they had the publishing rights.
Oh.
So I don't know if they can. Um, but if they could, I'd be down.
Megami Tensei 3. Everybody's like, what the hell is this?
It would probably play just like a mainline game, honestly.
Yeah, it probably would.
So I'd be down. If it took place in the same world and stuff, I'd be. I guess that's okay. I would like to play 1 and 2 beforehand, but that might not happen until we get a fan translation, unfortunately. But
Yeah.
I don't know, because the thing with Megami Tensei 1 and 2 is it's kind of the bridge between the SMT we know and love today and just generic dungeon crawlers. So it probably, the way I look at it, I don't really think they would want to even go back and bother with the first 2, but you never know.
Yeah. For
If
all we know, that could be like what they're going to announce in this year's E3. Hey, Megami Tensei 3. Have fun.
so, yeah, I feel like though if we do get one, it would probably play just like an SMT, like a regular mainline SMT game.
Yeah, it would.
So, I mean, I'd play it. I'd definitely go out and buy it day one if it was announced. So, guess that answers that.
Yes.
All right. This one's from Francisco, and he says, in the scale of Mo, Shivu, how hard would you say the first, or how hard would you say the 5 mainline SMT games are? He says in parentheses that we did play SMT 1 and 2, is if that's correct. Um, no, neither of us have played SMT 2. I've played SMT 1. I don't think you've played either, right, Katsu?
I watched I mean, not watched. I read up the entire plot of SMT1.
Okay, so yeah, there is zero SMT2 experience between the two of us, aside from me playing like the opening part of the game and then like the first 3 battles and then stopping. Um, so I guess we're gonna talk SMT1, Nocturne, Strange
Yeah.
Journey,
And 4.
4, and that's hard for me because Nocturne I've gotten quite a ways into, Strange Journey I've gotten a bit into, and then 4 I've beaten to hell and back. So this is gonna be weird, but from my experience, I'm gonna say 1 is. It's weird because 1 is hard, but not necessarily because it's actually difficult. It's just that it's very tedious to play through. There are points where the dungeons just decide to throw fog at you, and you can't see where you're walking. You have to like pull up your map constantly to see where you're going, and just overall, like the shoddy design, which I know sounds bad, makes it more difficult than it should be. So I'm gonna say 1 is first, then probably Strange Journey because there's yeah, I haven't really encountered it yet, but it seems like there's a lot of cheap shots taken at the player in that game.
Yeah, there's a lot of cheapness in Strange Journey.
Then Nocturne, and then I'm gonna say 4. 4 is tough in the beginning, and then as you
Like
get better
afterwards, you get
skills,
yeah. After you get like better skills and better demons, it's just GG.
yeah, the game is yours to beat.
The game is yours.
Yeah, there's no way like as soon as you get to Tokyo, the game definitely gets a shit ton easier.
Yeah.
So is that your list too, or would you arrange it
Yeah,
differently?
that's pretty much it. I had the easiest time with SMT4.
Yeah, a lot of people are depressed about that. A lot of people are like, a lot of people say stuff like, "Oh, SMT4 is easier than Persona 4," which I think is a little weird. But I'm starting to see that pop up a lot now. I don't really think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Persona 4 is definitely like easier to SMT4 in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the closest the mainline series has gotten to Persona 4 level difficulty, but that's still not saying much, I guess. There's still quite the gap. So thank
Oh
you.
man, I remember this. I remember reading this Amazon review on SMT4, and the guy like gave it 1 stars because the game was too hard.
You know, I can see that from like a casual gamer's perspective, though.
Yeah, the
So
game's too hard, so it sucks.
yeah. IGN Godhand review. This game is hard. 3 out of
IGN
10.
IGN Wonderful 101 review. The game's too hard. 7 out of 10.
IGN. Okay, so thank you, Francisco, for that. That was a good question. Um,
Yes.
and also, I just want to clarify this, make sure no one gets the wrong impression. Uh, when we're not saying Persona 4 level difficulty as like a negative connotation thing, like
Yeah.
it's no secret that Persona 4 is the easiest MegaTen game. Um, it's just something that people point out when talking about difficulty. We don't mean that in like a negative way or anything. So
Yeah.
I feel bad that I even need to say that, but there's going to be 1 or 2 people I bet that listen to this that got the wrong
Take it
idea.
the wrong. Yeah. Take it
Yeah.
the wrong way.
So just being careful.
Unrussell those Jimmy's people.
Yeah. Um, we are not SMT elitist. Okay, so this
Yes.
one's from Apostrophe Man, and he says it's him again. This time he has 3 weird questions. A few days ago, he was listening to COS 11.5. Oh Jesus. Um, familiar pain to be more exact. And after the part where Makoto rubbed his thing on Lilim, you said something like, "Who makes that?" After I thought, well, Rasen and Sparky are not hentai fans. Um, his question is one: have you ever searched or think to search or have thought to search about hentai about SMT? No.
This is my kind of question.
Oh,
Oh man.
okay.
So I was bored one day and I was on Pixiv and searching up SMT images. And I wasn't on there for like just
Okay.
specifically looking up lewd. I was just there looking for artwork. I was like, there's barely any SMT artwork on Danburu, so I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna go to Pixiv because that's where they usually take the bulk of it. And I found some pretty nice art. I found like pretty, yeah, they were pretty sick actually. Some pretty cool action shots and like someone drew all the S&T protagonists. They were together. They were all fighting and stuff. It was awesome. And then like because when I search for stuff on Pixiv, I usually have my 18 plus filter off, and so I found this one image of like a Shara and freaking Strange Journey protagonist. It was hilarious.
Doing stuff.
Yes, doing stuff. We'll
Oh
leave it at
God.
that. And there's a bunch of stuff with Pixie and Lilim and yeah, there's quite a
Oh,
lot.
you listen? Did you listen to 11.5 ever?
Yeah, I listened to 11.5.
Yeah. Yeah. There's definitely a lot of stuff about about Lilim.
There's a lot of stuff about Pixie too.
I
And
know.
also there's this
It's weird.
There's this Devil Survivor 2 Dojin where like all the girls
Okay. Dude.
All right, moving on.
Uh. Anyways, it says. By the way, my girlfriend listened to that podcast and yelled at me and said I am never ever going to cosplay Lilim.
Aww.
Wow. Um. Wow. Uh. So there's that. Anyways, and then second question: when you played Persona 3/4 for the first time, who was your first waifu and why did you choose her?
My first waifu was Fuga because I felt sorry for her.
Did you look up Dojin about her afterwards? I'm never gonna live that down, or you're never gonna live that down.
I don't it doesn't bother me. Anyway,
Okay.
no, because I didn't even know what a Dojin was back in '06. I mean,
Okay.
back in '08 when Fest came out.
Anyways, crap. Persona 3, I just went Yukari because I assumed she was like the canon choice because
She goes batshit and crazy in the answer.
no, not even that. It's just like the game seems to like you spend
Wait,
more time with her compared to like
yeah.
Mitsuru.
That's how I felt with like Persona 4 and Narukami and Yukiko. You seem to spend more time with
Hmm.
her than the other girls.
Yeah, definitely. Like the Persona games kind of do this, and I don't want to get into like shipping talk or whatever, but Persona 3, it's kind of obvious like Mitsuru and Akihiko definitely have more character relationship stuff going on. Um, and then like Persona 4, Chie and Yosuke definitely have a lot of scenes and
Yeah,
stuff together, I guess. And I guess Narukami and Yukiko, yeah,
Yukiko.
there's definitely a lot of material in game for that. Um, so yeah, I kind of went with Yukari just because. Actually, I did on my first playthrough. I assumed that if you had multiple relationships going on, that like bad things would happen, but I turned out to be wrong. So I just went with Yukari and ignored Fuka and Mitsuru. Actually, wait, no. What's that one girl? There's the girl that is like in your sport with you, like she plays the same sport you do. I th-
Oh, I can't remember her name.
it's like
I
Yuko
know who
or
you're
something
talking
like
about.
that.
Yeah, Yuko. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's her name.
like I maxed out her social link pretty fairly on, and then you. This is the best part about relationships in Persona 3. Once you maxed out a relationship, it's just kind of done. You never talk again. So
Yeah, you never talk to each other again.
yeah, so that happened. Um, so yeah, I went along with that. Um, so I guess that was the canon or the choices we did. Um, and then third question is if Rasen is a snail and Katsu is a dog, what is Sparky? A panda, cat, shark, etc. And he says he needs the information if for some reason he decided to make a yaoi dojinshi of COS.
Oh my. Oh my.
Oh Mao.
Oh
Um,
my.
I don't know. Well, I don't know what Sparky would be.
He would be a dog.
You're a dog.
Wow.
Perfectly wow. I don't know, like, oh man, like me and Sparky go way back, so like,
Maybe a slug.
I guess.
It's perfect.
Yeah, let's go with that because there's no way that you can make like that into a doujinshi. So I'm gonna say that just for that fact. Um, yeah, let's go with Slug. The next time Sparky makes an appearance on COS, we'll be sure to ask. Thanks, Apostrophe
Yeah.
Man, for enlightening us about all this information. Now I know that Katsu reads. Anyways, so sorry, I just had to. I had to. I had to make that joke. Um, this is from Jesus, and he says every MegaTen Wikipedia page features Dante from Capcom's Devil May Cry. See bottom of page. Oh, I bet he's talking about um the oh shoot, like the related articles.
Oh,
That probably has Dante on each of those. Oh, that's a good fact. Thank you, Jesus. That
not
was the
bad.
entirety of the email. This one's from Francis, and he says he has two questions. One, how do you think the moon system will work in Persona 5? In Nocturne, the moon system was used for puzzles, notably the Moray sisters boss, in addition to getting rare items on full moons and items that increase and decrease the encounter rate. I'm not sure how it works in SMT4, so maybe you could fill me in. Oh, SMT4 doesn't have a moon system at all.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Uh, Probably because I guess that's a spoiler. Never mind. Um, there's a reason. Like the moon doesn't play a part in SMT4 for a reason. Um, Anyways, I've always felt that the Persona series neutered the moon system in most recent titles compared to the significance in the mainline SMTs. Well, the moon system isn't in the latest mainline SMT, so yeah. I don't know if Persona 5 will even have a moon system thing going on.
Hmm?
I said I don't even know if Persona 5 will have a moon system. I kind of doubt it.
Probably won't.
Because, I mean, Persona 3 kind of did, but that's just because you fought a boss every full moon.
Yeah.
And, well, I guess some of the attacks depended on the moon phase. But, like, it barely had an effect on the game, pretty much.
Yeah.
Persona 4 didn't have a moon thing.
Not at all.
Yeah. Were there even attacks that were affected by moon phase? I don't think so.
I know in Persona 3 there was like Getsue and all that,
Yeah,
but
but
I don't think
did those return in Persona 4?
I honestly don't know.
Someone tell us below. I don't think they did. I think they just dropped those altogether. Um, and he says also, do you think that the story will be another fool's journey, such as Persona 3 and 4, or something similar to Persona 1 or 2, or something completely new and edgy? Um,
It's going to be something completely new and edgy with college.
yes, and prison. Um, I, I want I really want to say I hope it's something new, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was another fool journey. Um, I really hope they go for something new. Like really, really hoping that they just blow us out of the water with something, but they could just be playing their cards safe and just going for a Persona 3 and 4 type of plot archetype. Yeah. We're not going to know until we know more about the game, but
probably won't know more about the game until
after.
I want to say after Persona Q is out.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. You never know. Like a lot of people have been saying that maybe Q will like tease a bit of stuff about 5. Which would be weird because 3DS teasing something about a PS3 game would be odd. I kind of hope it doesn't, but you never know. Suplex actually possibly could, I guess, because it's closer in the continuity. Suplex Hold might tease a little bit about 5, but we don't know yet about that either. So I don't know. I kind of hope that, yeah, they do change it up and just make it different, but you never know. Anyways, just love the podcast. Keep it up. So thank you, Francis. Let's go a few more. This one's from CVFPO, and he says, so how are you guys doing? Recently, at the time of writing this, watched a Let's Play of a game called Deadly Premonition. that I really liked and made me like the game too, despite its flaws. If you decide to watch a Let's Play of the game, I highly recommend Super Great Friends LP. His car driving in the game killed me. And because of how much I liked watching that game, I've decided to give Twin Peaks a try. Disclaimer, if you find any similarities between this game and Persona 4, they are purely coincidental. Also, I know you guys like to read terrible fan fiction sometimes, but I found a surprisingly good one. It's very long, but if you give it time, you might find it interesting. It's called The Fool's Journey. I'll link to it down below. I haven't read it yet. Maybe I'll give that I'll check it out. Sometimes fan fiction can be good.
Yes.
99% of it is garbage, but sometimes there's the rare exception. And to end this off with a line that won't make sense until you experience the game, the coffee never lies. So I guess he wants us to give our input on Deadly Premonition. I haven't played it. Have you played it?
Nope.
I've been interested in Deadly Premonition ever since that it was a 360 exclusive. Luckily, the PS3 version, the director's cut, came out recently, like a few months back, and I've always wanted to give the game a try. I heard it's very Earthbound-like in a lot of ways, which anything that is similar to Earthbound, in my opinion, is interesting. Like, I heard there's just like weird stylish things in there that a lot of other games don't do. Like, I heard something like you need to like properly maintain your car or else like your car breaks down, or like you need to like have proper hygiene or else people won't talk to you as much and stuff like that, which seems
Wow.
like stuff like that seems really funny, and I'd be willing to give a game like that a shot. I heard it's very, very non sequitur, I guess, or just odd in terms of plot. So that interests me. I want to see what that's all about. I think it's about like a murder mystery, but it's also like a survival horror. I've been meaning to give that game a shot for a while now. I might buy it actually later today. Like it's like $30 on PSN. I might as well. I mean, you never know.
Uh,
Uh, I've been interested in it for a while, so you never know. CVFPO, you might have just pushed me into buying it. But yeah, check it out. I guess you guys, if you guys like weird things, Deadly Premonition is definitely weird, from what I gather. So yeah, thanks CVFPO for that email.
yes.
This one's also from CVFPO, and he says, "I apologize for the small font. Yahoo's default is small font. Oh, so yeah, that it's okay. It's all good, CVFPO. We were just joking that episode. Um, this one's from oh God, this one's from okay, I probably shouldn't do this, but it's from Rush Hour Duck, who he wrote the creepypasta that what he wrote one of the creepypastas that we read in 7.5, me and Sparky. He's a cool guy though. He actually liked our like riff of it, so cool guy. But he emailed us under the name Kisuke Manning,
Hmm.
and he says, "Sup crackers, I got a question for y'all in it, Blad. Like, have you bitch ass hoes played Okami? Cause that game is fucking sick ass, man. Also, Persona 4 is awful in every way, and you should feel ashamed that you didn't spend those hours you spent on it playing Sonic 06. Also, have you played Sonic 06? I'd love to know. Okay, bye. Greater than
Um,
4. Or less than 4,
greater
sorry.
than less than 4.
Less than 4.
Cool.
Um,
Yeah, I've played Okami before. It's a pretty great game.
I haven't. I want to because it was made by Clover Studios, and yeah. No, but I want to play that, and also I've never played Sonic 06.
I never want to play Sonic 06 because it's no use.
Yeah, like there's no point in playing Sonic 06, so I guess it's just bad. So yeah, you never know. Maybe I'll take his advice and play Sonic 06 instead of Persona 4. No, that'd be a terrible idea. Thanks, Rush Hour Duck. Good fun. I guess we'll go one more, and then we'll
Okay.
call it quits. We've gone on
All
for
right. Over an hour.
yeah, definitely over an hour. He says there are Alice in Wonderland characters as well as a few others in SMT. For example, the Rabbit and the Mad Hatter from the Tea Party, as well as Alice, though that is debatable. No, I'm pretty sure Alice is Alice from that story. Um, P.S. How do you think a crossover with Doom would hold up? I'd be down.
Mm,
Doom. I mean, Doom already has you killing demons, so it could work. uh, I mean, you'd have to change around the SMT demons to work within like a first-person shooter, or just use select demons that would. But I mean, I could see that being possible. There are rumors floating around that Kaneko has been pushing for like an SMT themed FPS, which I don't know if those are true at all, but you never know.
you never know. Never know.
Have you
But
ever
hey,
have you ever played Doom Katsu?
um, yeah, I played Doom on the computer back in high school.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
Doom 4 has been like in development hell forever, so
It'll be out around the same time as Final Fantasy 15.
yeah. Never. Yeah. Um all right, so I guess that's it. Uh,
Yes. Bye.
Gather demons and come again.